Packing up 2,500 square feet of high-tech yumminess and having to put it into storage for it sits collecting dust. And I'm not talking cheap things. There's an $80,000 3D printer specifically for making our frames for space and sitting there rotting. Okay? No buts, but rotters. You can't keep employees if you can't pay them. They have bills too. And my crew stuck around a lot longer than they should have. Okay? When they leave, you have a corporate knowledge journey. All the things that you've gained, you're now losing. And you have depression sets. Serious depression. Has anybody ever hit a bottom like that? You know what I'm talking about then, right? You feel it? It's not just something you hear, you feel. And if anybody remembers woe, despair, and agony on me, you're as old as I am. You haul anybody? Anybody remembers that show? Okay. So what do? I kept going. I'm in debt up to my eyeballs. Had no income, and I decided to sit it out for a while. I did. I focused on my grandson. I focused on the house. I focused on getting a job, because I thought that's where this is going. And if you want to have trouble finding a job in this environment, try doing it when you're listed as a C-suite engineer. It doesn't work. They don't want you. Why? I couldn't get hired at a hardware store. I won't say which one. I tried to get hired at a hardware store because I did construction. I did nuts, bolts, screws, all of that, right? Plumbing, electrical, I can handle it. They wouldn't hire me because I'm a flight risk. As soon as a better opportunity comes along, I'm gone. Would you hire somebody like that, knowing that you're going to put in 6 weeks of training and then they're just going to get up and disappear because somebody offered them a job that pays way more than $17 an hour? That was my reality. So what do you do? Well, as it says, you put one foot in front of the other. Okay, now folks that aren't catching on, that there's a lot of references to movies and shows. Does anybody remember one foot in front of the other?
You're talking about I can't remember, the name of it, the Santa Claus, right? Or
Yes.
Hold on.
Santa Claus is coming to town, the Warlock.
Yeah.
It's a song, okay? So what I do, I retool and I reset. What do I have? Let's take stock of what we do have. We've got a whole bunch of gear in storage. We have the potential to launch. Those contracts are still valid. And we put deposits on them. I mean, they're still valid. And there's me. So I do the one thing that technologically is possible when you're a single individual and you need help and can't afford it. I copied me. I created an AI model that thinks like I do, as close as I can get. It is not conscious. It might be sentient. I don't know. But it thinks like I do. I can have conversations with it, only it's 10 to 100 times faster at doing the job that we need. It's amazing. I need to do a press release, all right? I need a press release that is specific to this, and this. Give me the email addresses for everybody I need to talk to. 2 minutes later, I have a complete spreadsheet of it. That will take me all day. That's what I've got. So now I've got this list. So I'm making the phone calls. I'm taking the meetings. I'm talking to people. The fake it till you make it kind of thing. Well, we made it. People think we made it. We're just having some problems right now. And I tell people on the phone where the load was. But this is where we intend to go. And I have given a lot of presentations. I have probably do a presentation every day, if not two, to venture capitalists, to business opportunities, whomever, wherever, and just do the work. And as much as that I appear to love presentations, I could live here on this stage with you here. This does not translate to Zoom.
No.
It does not translate to Google Meet. It doesn't. It's hard. We go all flat, two-dimensional. There's a reason why movie actors act. Because if you don't, it's all flat and nobody's going to pay attention. This is a natural environment. So, leveraging the AI, that I have, the tools that I have, we move forward. That's the climb. I'm still on the climb. I'm running free of a 100-run ladder. But we're coming back. But persistence does pay. We don't talk about contracts. Okay, another reference. We have new contracts pending. We have some really, really cool stuff. There are some people who believe in what we're doing enough that we have contracts coming. Big announcement, May 20th. Watch for that. Really, really cool, really exciting. But we're not out of the woods. I'm not a little apologist. I don't want politics. Okay. They're not necessary evils of how the world works, but I don't care for them because they radicalize very quickly. And the current situation is worrying. Here's the question for you. Tariffs cause your prices to go up 100%, double what you're paying now. Your satellites now are twice as expensive. Not including labor, just in parts, they're twice as expensive. But then you do the math and you find out that in the United Kingdom, the tariffs for those exact same parts is 10%. And labor costs are actually cheaper. But the political environment is a little more difficult for tech. Do you pick up and move from the United States to the United Kingdom?
Especially when you got a grandson.
Especially when you've got a grandson who doesn't get to go with me.
I got family in London, so yeah, I'm gone.
Okay, you're right there, all right? It's hard. So what do? Do I pick up and move to another country? Where they want us? How do we staff up? We're a damaged company. We have very little resources. Be honest. Show of hands. How many of you would go to work for a company in that state? Yeah, not many. If you're financially secure, it makes it a little easier, but if you're fresh out of college and you need a job, and you need a place, a roof over your head, this is not the place to be. This is highly unstable. When we hired people at Q, we told them that this is an entrepreneurial enterprise. We could be gone tomorrow. And then tomorrow came. But these are the solutions that we're in. How do we staff up? How do I build these things? Money helps. Contracts coming, money helps. But that's what you can do. What are our next steps? I am not hiring engineers immediately next steps. I'm sorry. I love you guys. I really want to bring you on board. But no. I gotta develop a business first. I've got 20 letters of intent that need to be turned into contracts. I can't do that. I need somebody who can. So the next hire is going to be business development. We'll get to the engineers, because I want the engineers back. But I can't play with my engineers this next time. I can't be in the room with them while we're developing things. They're going to have to do it on their own. Because I got a company to run. I can't sit up in one clean room like I did before. If somebody has a problem, they can come to my desk and I can wax poetically about how they might solve the problem, but I can't go into the showroom. So we're gonna contract out as much as possible. And instead of hiring people in, we'll hire subcontractors, people who want to do this on their own. 1099 instead of employee. Isn't that the way a lot of companies end up going? How many of you have worked on a 1099 instead of a W-2?
I used to for years.
Yeah.
For years.
Different life, isn't it? We have a launch. I've got multiple launches coming up. We've got birds that are needing to be assembled that are going to fly. 6 of them in January. But I need the business side first. Anybody see the problem? Solve the business issue, and then get the engineers, and then get everything built, tested, packed, loaded, and ready to go on the rocket by December. Who's that for you? All right.
Welcome to startups.
So, think differently is something that's important. I mean, there's been a lot of advertising slogans about thinking differently. And this time, I'm gonna do it differently. We're gonna keep the costs under control. If my engineers needed a tool, we bought it. I can't do that. Gotta figure it out. Here's your budget. Stay focused. Well, I'm gonna have a problem with that. Okay, because I am definitely a squirrel. That's me. And never give up. Never surrender. I believe there's something with you still, despite the pain, despite the sorrow. I think it has something to do with this world. And so I'm going to fight for it. Even if the ladder gets broken apart in 2, I'm just standing all the way up. Okay? So the takeaways: watch your sales and costs closely when you're running a business. If you're on a 1099, you must do the same thing. Do not have a single customer. Everybody in my industry thinks the government is a fantastic customer. They are until they change their mind. And you're seeing that in mass over the last few months. Technically the last 102 days, I think. You've seen thousands, tens of thousands of people lose their jobs because the government changed its mind. A lot of good engineers in there. Can't get them. Just don't stop when you're doing something like this. I might sound down, but you know what? I know the future is bright. I know the people here in Lancaster County are going to be the nexus for a company that will do things to change the world. It's hard to back up my mindset, but I am back there. I did a rest. I did a reset, and now I am restarting. I will bring this back. Come hell or high water. I'm not supposed to curse up here, am I?
Too late.
Whoops. Adams, to go from Lancaster to the harbors in Philadelphia, was built here. By the way, that's why here the locals call it macadam instead of asphalt. That's where that comes from. The Conestoga wagon, designed and built here. Pennsylvania, yep, There's all kinds of things that have been invented here. That's why I want to stay here. The startup culture isn't that great. I mean, I've been told to move to California, talk to some Silicon Valley folks. Anybody from California? Anybody from Silicon Valley? I'm sorry, everybody. I hate Silicon Valley. Been there, done that. No. You've been there. You've lived the dream, right?
I love Papa Jack gets an MBAs. They're doing a great job for the tech industry.
Yes, sir.
I think you mentioned this, but how do you know when it's time to hire engineers again? You talked about subcontractors. What's your plan for that?
Well, the first thing is I need money in the bank,
Clearly.
but I also want stable money in the bank. Okay?
So is that still doing the same thing, or is this branching out of like that one niche item that you're doing and like expanding your
We're,
product?
good question, yes. We realize that the market has to be bigger. So we have branched out to the particular target markets. Interesting note, I would receive a message that I wasn't supposed to receive from a venture capitalist who was telling my contact why we weren't investable. And his number one thing was our market leads are too long. Okay? It's not something that's going to bring money like this. He missed the point. The point is I want those people because those are the people who've never been able to do this before. They don't know it's available. They don't know it's possible. So yes, it's a hard market to crack into, but once the nut is cracked, you're in like Flynn, okay? So yes, we had to change our marketing strategy. We went for folks more in line with the immediate need. Anybody see California, Los Angeles County recently? I've used that as a lead. If our birds had been up there, that fire would have been 1/3 its size. And I can prove it. So yeah, different markets. We had to go to different markets, wildfires, as well as the environmental, but also industrial. People who are running build sites for large apartment complexes want to track progress on a weekly basis. So that's another market that we're looking at. So again, just expand your market. Do not do this uncontrolled, however. This isn't, grab your spaghetti, throw it on the wall, and see what sticks. You have to do the research.
So it's kind of the same product but different application.
Same product, different application, yes. I still believe that this is the right way to go. By the way, there have now been 93 pocket cubes launched. They're almost at the same level of 2 YouTube sets that have been launched. It's on tape, and 10 years ago. It's on yes, sir.
Who do you go through to contact someone as large as the Air Force to get a contract negotiation?
Oh, okay. So, first thing you have to do is set up your company. You cannot do this as an individual. Then go register with sam.gov. Right? Once you're in sam.gov, now you are basically selectable for projects. Now go back to sam.gov every week and see where the solicitations are. And then you spend months crafting a document that has to be written in a very specific version of English. You have to find a project lead within the military, Air Force, Navy, whatever, whoever's working on this. You need to find an internal project lead, and you need to sell to them that you want to do this. Okay? And then once they're on board, you have an inside person to help you with the process. And then you continue to revise and revise and revise and revise, and you will not win on the first one. You will not win on the second one. You might win on the third one. Okay? About 5 or 6 times, you will finally get the language and what they're looking for through their feedback, and then you'll start to win a couple of contracts. So those are going to be what we call SIBRs, Small Business Innovative Research Grants. They're pennies. They're like $75,000. Then you can move on to the bigger ones, which are closer to $750,000. That's phase 2. And then there's this mythical phase 3, which I've never really seen anybody get to. Usually they end up saying, I'm giving up on this, I'm going commercial, or they go out of business. Otherwise they end up on the end, what's called the SIBR loop. I've known companies that have been doing SIBR loops for 17 years. They do nothing but apply for SIBRs, get the SIBRs, and keep going. They have produced no product. Be careful. But I hope that answers your question. Yes.
You had said like you have to write the contracts in a very specific language, and you imagine it's kind of arcane, just frustrating. How much does AI help you with writing proposals and stuff like that?
Very little. You have to train your model up in that language. And, you know, frankly, I don't speak it. For example, how many 3D printer folks do we have in here? All right, you guys know metric.
Yeah.
Describe for me an M3 screw, 12 millimeters in length. Anyone? M3-12, right? Our spacecraft will use a stainless steel 316 specified, fully tracked metallurgy-based system. We're going to be using the metric system because of the need for keeping international standards. That screw head will be no more than 3.2 millimeters plus or minus 0.1 millimeters. It will be 12 millimeters in length, and it will not deviate more than, give the standard deviation, and then you will follow up with the exact metallurgical process that was used to make the screw. Congratulations, you've now described a screw to the United States Air Force. Instead of, you know, it's an M3, it's 12 millimeters long. You know, almost all of them are stainless steel. All of them are 316 stainless. If you buy them from a hardware store. But instead of saying one line, M3 by 12, stainless steel screw, you have to write a paragraph or two to explain it. That's the language. And it's become that language because the people who work in that industry are primarily from academia and from the military, where those descriptions are necessary. And you wonder why things cost so much. When the military buys a plane, every nut, bolt, and screw has to be described in hyper detail. Don't do that, you don't get covered. So yeah, that's the language, and I do not speak it well. I don't. I mean, I've learned it. I should have, you know, ask ChatGPT to describe using simpler language an M3 by 12 stainless steel screw, and you will get some really interesting results. Okay.
Sounds like a great opportunity to train a model and sell it.
Yeah, there's a possibility there. Yes, sir.
Back to your comment on the language, do you think that just arrived that way and that's just the culture, or do you think they do that deliberately to weed out certain types of companies or certain types of individuals?
It's a cultural thing. It's something that's developed over time, especially when CYA is the number one thing when you're doing contracts like this. And it's a research grant. This isn't a warning for anybody who wants to do a research grant. It's a research grant, which means you're doing research. What does research mean to you? It means you don't know. You're trying to figure it out. Okay? When you present your paperwork, you will account for everything you bought, and if it deviates more than 5% from what you said in your original proposal, and you're out. So if that part cost goes up by 145%, you have to justify it. And where did that extra money come from? Well, you said it was going to be $24.95, and here you spent $69.95 for it. What's the deal? I don't mind simmers, but I'm warning you now, they are a special thing. Right? Anyway. Okay. Okay.
As you beat the bushes to raise money, have you found that there's specialization within like the VC community for those that claim the world of like DoD and government customers as the potential market?
Exactly. As far as the venture capital industry goes, it is highly fractured. There are people who work with the DoD. There are people who work with the DoD, specifically with the Navy. There are people who will not talk to you at all unless you have done a contract with the DoD. And it gets very specific very quickly. And I don't blame the venture capitalists. Understand, they're a small business too. You know what VCs spend 90% of their time on? It's not reading business plans. It's raising money. They have to raise funds to do this, just like you're trying to raise funds to build your business. And they have to show a track record. And if they can't show a track record, that fund is done. So imagine trying to get in the door with somebody and you're trying to convince them that you want to do this, and the first question they'll ask usually, if they think that you're good, is, can you carry the phone? Look that one up. You got a $500 million fund, that's what they've raised. They want one company to have a net worth at sell time equal to the amount of the fund. So if you're getting $5 million from them and you don't grow to $500 million in 7 years, you're not a candidate. Why do I do this? Yes, sir.
Thinking about the employee to subcontractor switch, and the statement about, you're willing to sell your company to make it work. Just thinking about culture and how much a company that you created has a cultural vibe that you wanted to put into it. What do you expect the cultural changes to be when your employee base switches to subcontract? And how open to those same cultural changes from bringing on a partner or something like that would you be?
Yeah, the cultural changes are stark. I like to say that Cuba was a fun place to work. And rule number one when you were hired is, we do not have a vacation policy. There are no days off. There's nothing. The reason why is you're an adult, when you need rest, right? If you've been cramming on the keyboard for 3 days straight and you need a break, you take it. I don't care. Hit the goal. We have a target goal, can you hit the goal? As long as the goals are being met, I don't care. I don't care if you're on a boat in the Bahamas, with a frothy beverage next to you, with a gentle breeze blowing over the sails, and a laptop and a Starlink. If that's what it takes to do your job, do your job. That culture is going to go away, at least in some respects, because subcontractors, you're your own thing. You're running your own time. You have a deliverable. And so it's more transactional. And so the ability to inject culture into that relationship is much harder. So it will be more transactional than less work together as a team. And it will be a detriment.
And you're willing to let that go?
I don't want to. I really don't. But I'm hoping I can get it back again. Yes.
Are there any previously equity holders from previous investments in Cube or anything that are still around?
All of my investors at this point, and I can count them on one hand, they're all small. None of them were cash direct investment. It was, we traded services or something. They brought something to the table instead of money. And I have not had any complaints at this point. They don't go down. It's like, okay, well, what are the opportunities? We shut the company down and I write a zero on that 10% return, or do I hang out a little while longer and see if we can make it to a round and I can cash out? So yeah, they're still with me, thick or thin. I get good people, work with good people, have discernment in that. Yes, sir.
How many different competitors do you have in your particular part of the niche?
For Earth observation, the particular resolution that we use, there are about 6 companies. I happen to know the CEOs of 2 of them. I know the founder of one of them. It's not a big market. But Earth observation, what we do is so different from what they do that when you go to a VC and say, oh, we don't have any competitors, it's BS, because they can figure out what I'm doing right now. They could change their model, it'll take them 2 years, but they can do it. So they're still a competitor. But yeah, there are 6 immediate in this grouping. But if overall in the Earth observation world, there are about 30 companies that are active. And right now there's a huge merger and acquisition phase going on. And so in my world of news, I get to see companies getting bought up all the time. And surprisingly, it's smaller companies buying larger companies. because they want the resources. Yeah, I believe it was Atmos was just purchased by a company called Clipper. And Clipper is like half their size, but they raised the money to buy this little company because it was good. So. I'm sorry this is a downer of the presentation.
After your following coming back up, how has it been getting your employees? Have you found difficulty doing that? Finding these subcontractors, these salespeople, getting them on board? How's that been?
It's difficult for folks who know the situation, but if you're upfront with them, I would like to say that half of my employees or better would come back if I could pay them. So I'm not worried. We do have a good way of building an organization. As far as the subcontractors goes, it's now friends of friends. Hey, do you know, I contacted the CEO of Alpha Orbital and said, hey, I know Alan was working with you. He branched off on his own. Is he doing something along these lines? Oh yeah, he's doing da-da-da-da-da. Can I get his number? That's how it's done. It's, you know, we don't put out solicitations. It's, I need to find somebody with such a unique specialty that the only way you can find it is through friend or friend or friend. Your network is your net worth. It's kind of true in this regard. I have a very rich network. I'm happy and proud that it's got the cities it has. But without that, not a chance. Not a chance.
I've also found that in tough economic times, it's easier to find folks who are willing to risk it, especially 1099, if you're already out of work.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of money here on a side project is better than none. So
Yeah.
there is always opportunities when the economy starts heading south for startups.
Yeah, and that sounds cruel, doesn't it? Oh, kind of taking advantage of the environmental conditions right now to give people. Well, yes, it's cruel.
Well, not everybody's willing to risk their full-time job to go do this.
Right.
If they're already out, so there's less of a risk, and there might be a great reward at the end. You don't know.
And as long as you're fully aware as a person who's bringing this person to work, that if they do get a job, they're gone bye-bye.
Yeah, I don't know if there's probably not a lot of folks who lived through the 2008 crisis here, but that was a big startup time, right, in 2008. I had my startup in 2008 because of that very reason.
Right. Use downtimes as opportunity. Okay? When people see hardship, there's opportunity there. If you see something and you know you can provide a solution, go for it. All right? Seriously. I'm not trying to use this as a thing, oh, don't ever get into business. Okay? If you don't get into business and try, even if you end up with the result that I have, where it's like, okay, do I close or not? And a lot of people just say, yep, that's it, I'm done, and close the book. If you don't do that at least once in your life, take that kind of risk, and it doesn't have to be starting your own company. You can be working for a startup. You can be doing any kind of weirdness that you're in charge of. Grab that, because you will learn more in those instances than anything you could possibly learn in any classroom. I don't care how many PhDs you get. That's important.
Is there like any one big situation or change that you, like looking in hindsight, like if I would have done X, it would have turned out differently?
Yes. There is a pivotal, exactly that, there is a pivotal moment. And that pivotal moment was when I hired my third and fourth engineer instead of hiring a business manager, someone who understood this market, who could go out and sell. And some people would call him a sales manager. No. It's not a sales. You don't sell in this business, okay? You manage in this business. And I needed someone who could do that. And if I made that one change, this presentation would be very different today. I'd be talking about how we've got 12 satellites up, and oh, here's the data we're getting. That's what I had planned this year. Not this depressing thing that you see today. I was everything was running full steam ahead this time last year. All of this happened since July of 2024. That's how fast it fell.
If you're interested in this type of stuff, how many people know of Business Model Canvas? It's in lieu of a business plan. It's all on one sheet.
Yep.
I highly recommend checking it out.
Mhm.
If you're interested in doing anything like this,
Yeah.
it will save you a lot of time.
Yes, and find the experts. Like, if you want to do this, talk to Ben Franklin Technology Partners. There are people who know how to do this. If you want to talk to them, let me know. I think they're ready. Yeah, never mind. Just hit me up over there, all right? I don't answer the telephone anymore. I've become one of those business folks. I don't answer the telephone. Just email me.
Do you think was there any resource, be that a book or a mentor or just going through it, like something you could point to and say that helped the most?
There are several books that I can recommend. None of them are particularly mainstream. I do recommend the book, How to Be a CEO, even if you're not intending to be a CEO. I am terrible with names, okay? So you have to go with the title. If you look that title up, you'll find it on Amazon. That book is great. You need to understand marketing, so go and get some good marketing books. Okay, I'm going to name the title of the book, and it's going to sound weird. Okay, and again, it's an obscure book, but it's on statistical analyses and how things actually work. And the book is called More Sex Equals Safe Sex. And you're going to say, well, no, that's not how it works. Go look at how the statistics are actually figured out, and you'll understand why it works. Right, so that's one of those things, it's a brain shifter. You think, I love what Zach presented, where he said, oh yeah, we're going to have this net loss of people working, but they don't take into account the net gain that's coming from the new thing, because this is not predictable. They know what this is. Like, oh, the sky is falling. This is an unknown, and so they can't measure it until it's already occurred. But yeah, that's a good, those two are the ones I would immediately recommend as understanding how things need to work. They're weird, but they're wonderful books. Okay.
Kind of part of the process of employing supervisors first contact, just how much you can. At what point does it shift from you're taking lessons learned to you're having to make a leap of faith? Maybe I'm just reading the lecture wrong.
Okay, I missed a little bit there.
So it seems like there's kind of a process when no plane survives first contact, you salvage what you can, you learn, you move on. At what point does it become kind of another leap of faith, or you're once again stepping into an unknown territory and you're rolling the dice?
If you're doing it right, that's every decision. If you're doing it right, it's every decision. No decision in a small business, as someone running a small business, is one of those where it's known. They're always a leap of faith. You're taking a leap of faith with a CPA you've talked to, you can actually do your books right. Be careful on that one. Not a good one. And I think I am well officially out of time. Ladies and gentlemen, please, I hope that I did not depress you for the rest of the day.